Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for another transfer update. We are looking at all of those deals in the Championship, primarily the incomings, but there are a few outgoings that I'm just going to mention at the end of this video. But there's only one place to start in terms of Championship transfers, because we've had a big one and we've had one of the year one parachute teams spending some cash, and it is Fulham on Harry Wilson. And we talked for ages about Harry Wilson and what ultimately was going to happen to him. 24 years old at Liverpool, clearly a good football player, done well in the Championship before, had a go in the Premier League with Bournemouth, but it didn't quite work out. Liverpool always hold out for big fees for their players, and we just wondered who in the end was going to pick up the tab that Liverpool wanted and make the gamble, and what was the number going to be. Well, we're hearing all sorts, primarily 11 million, 12 million as a figure, but we're also hearing that the payments are going to be structured in such a way that Fulham may not be paying too much this season. Obviously, with FFP being what it is, you cannot fathom, unless you're about to sell, say, Anguissa, God forbid, Mitrovic for a big pile of money. You cannot fathom having a 12 million quid liability on the balance sheet when we're not entirely sure how much money people are going to be making in terms of commercials and gate receipts. So the deal is done, and it is a permanent. You wondered whether Wilson would come back. Look, he was definitely going to come back, wasn't he? You wondered whether it might be the loan to purchase deal that we've seen lots of teams doing now. Leeds very well, Helder Costa and Jack Harrison, and Wolves even before Leeds. Fulham themselves with Cavaliero and Knockaert. Norwich last season with Janulis. Ben Gibson as well was done on one of those deals, wasn't he? But this may be a sort of similar solution, i.e. you want the player, you don't want that huge chunk of money on 1 year's worth of balance sheet. Let's be fair, even if they were paying a lot, all of these transfer deals, and we never know, are ratcheted out over years. So, my first contention with this is that the transfer fee may not be too much of a problem. And unless I can see evidence that it's really going to mess with Fulham's accounts, I don't think it's a bad deal, purely on the basis that I don't know how long the contract is. Does it say on the... I can't see offhand there how long the contract is, but I'm sure it's on there somewhere and I just can't see it. If it's over the duration of the contract, and say they pay 3 million next season and then 4 million and then 5 million, we know that they can get out of that contract at some point, don't we? So it's all very binary with these parachute teams, isn't it? Where it's not a lot of money if you get promoted. Whatever it is not a lot of money if you get promoted, because we know that your broadcast income, which is the key to football, is going up from, with a parachute team, 45 million quid to 100 million quid. With any other team, it's 7 million quid up to 100 million quid. So it's kind of like, well, if you go up, that solves all, doesn't it? So in Fulham's situation, if they've structured the deal in such a way that they can get out of down the line, they're clearly not taking a huge hit on the money this season. It could well work out all right for them. I don't think we should see this as, a huge chunk of money's gone down and it's a massive gamble. It's probably not. And as I always say about these undisclosed fees and deals being structured, unless you can show me how that money is paid, we can't really say that Fulham are going to overpay and get taken to the cleaners. Obviously, there is a liability now, but we don't know over how many years that is. So I don't think, put out a tweet about this one yesterday, actually, when the deal went through. I don't think we have the information to sit there and say, this is too much. Obviously, if they never get promoted and Wilson sees out his entire contract, it will be too much. But think about the Knockaert one last time Fulham went up. Look, he was there. He didn't have too much of an influence. I think it was over 10 million quid in the end. But then they got promoted. So the money was covered on the back end with the broadcast money. Anyway, let's stop talking about broadcast money and talk about the player. You can see there Wilson, 24, says primarily operates on the right. Well, he's one of these sort of modernish players that fits the 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1 world which we live in now. And I had a look back at the heat maps. So when he was in the Championship with Hull, he primarily played down the left, because obviously he had Jared Bowen going down the right, which was a nice couple of wide players there. 13 appearances, I think 11 starts, 7 goals, 3 assists off the left. Then for Derby, he primarily played down the right. This was sort of 4-3-3 as well, wasn't it? 15 goals, 3 assists, got them into the playoff final, didn't he, in that Frank Lampard side. And then at Cardiff last season, more a number 10, I would suggest, although McCarthy did sometimes drop into that 3-4-3 type situation where you're an inside right or an inside left. 7 goals, 11 assists. So, whatever you say about Wilson in the Premier League, park that. In the Championship, he will do you good numbers if you get him on the pitch. And let's be quite honest, Hull were not a top half team when he was there. Cardiff didn't have the best season in the world, finished outside the playoffs, still 18 goal contributions. Derby got into the playoffs and there's another 18 goal contributions there. You do wonder if the standard is around 15 to 20 goal contributions and he's playing for a team that should be finishing in the top 6, may finish in the top 4. You wonder what sort of a number will he put up. So I would suggest on Harry Wilson, and forget can he do it in the Premier League. That's irrelevant for now. Long term, that might be a conversation, mightn't it? In the Championship, he's a guy that you can get that will make a difference. Look, is he Mitrovic level of difference? Buendia, Abraham, Ismail Assar? Not quite, I wouldn't say. But is he a player that you could get promoted with him as your key creative guy? I think he probably is in the Championship. So, assuming the deal has been structured in such a way that doesn't hamstring Fulham financially, and assuming they can get him on the pitch, there's plenty of evidence with Hull and Derby and Cardiff that he will put numbers on. It looks like a good signing to me, but the entire devil is in the detail of the way the payments are structured. And if Fulham do not get promoted this season or next season, remember they've got 2 years of parachutes, can they get out of it and will he become a bit of a drain on the balance there? So, look, is he Buendia, Grealish, Pablo Hernandez? Not quite, but let's see. I suspect he'll put up some good numbers for Fulham. And look, it's no shame to not be Grealish, Buendia, whoever. You can still be a very decent Championship level player who makes a difference at that level. And that is the key for Fulham at the moment. There's a whole other conversation about yo-yo teams and this type of player who you may well not then be able to rely on at the next level. But maybe that's not a conversation for today. Let me know your thoughts on Harry Wilson into Fulham. And we're going to stay with Fulham, who signed 2 players yesterday, although one of them's going to get a bit overshadowed by the other. They also have brought in a goalkeeper, and it is Paulo Gazzaniga, who is an Argentinian keeper, 29 years old, and he's a Mauricio Pochettino guy. He was there with him in Southampton and there at Spurs. Now, the numbers tell us he didn't make that many starts in the Premier League. The most in a season was 17. But when I look at the fact that Fulham loaned Areola all of last season, basically, they had Ruddock, who is still there in the Championship last time around. The fact that they're bringing in Gazzaniga, that Marco Silva wants to do this deal, makes me think, Fabry is there as well, but it makes me think that Gazzaniga's going to have the shirt. And he's going to start the season, and unless he drops the proverbial, I think he's going to be the Fulham keeper, or gets injured, obviously, for the season. Basically, he's experienced, he's played at high level, not as massively frequently as maybe you'd want. But look, you're not going to get a goalkeeper dropped to the Championship who plays regularly in the Premier League. It just doesn't work like that. There's 20 goalkeeping positions in the Premier League, and experienced goalkeepers are hard to come by, few and far between. So, you know, it is what it is, and I suspect he'll take that drop down. And look, we've seen people like Almunia or, I don't know, Fabianski come sort of down and then back up they go. So I suspect Mr. Gazzaniga just thinks, right, okay, I can go down into the Championship, and assuming I play well, there's a high chance of Fulham being there or thereabouts, or being promoted indeed, and could well find his way back up in the Premier League with a shirt. It's a roundabout way of kind of doing it, but I suppose he's backed himself, and he's going to go and play regular football. I know he'd gone back on loan to Spain, but essentially he's been based in England for the longest time and based in London. So it all makes a fair amount of sense for Gazzaniga. Personally, I don't have too much experience of seeing him play. It is, at the end of the day, a Premier League reserve goalkeeper. So I'll reserve judgment, and I'm sure Southampton fans and Spurs fans will know far more about him. But certainly on paper, and of course football is not played on paper, looks like an experienced guy who can certainly do a job for Fulham. And I think he'll have the shirt, unless Ruddock completely outtrains him when he arrives. But on calibre and on paper, he'll have the shirt. So let me know what you think there. Gazzaniga into Fulham as well. And we'll kind of stay with Fulham, but it is an outgoing player from Fulham. And we're in no-brainer land here. It's Stefan Johansen, who's finally been confirmed now as a QPR player. And all of the QPR fans I spoke to wanted this deal to be done. How old is he? 30 years old, Johansen. And, of course, he was on loan at QPR last season. And his loan, and that alongside with Charlie Austin, did coincide, and we're in cause and effect and correlation and all of that now, did coincide with QPR's form increasing drastically. Is that fair? Look, there was a noticeable improvement that it would not be unreasonable to attribute in part to the arrival of Steph Johansen at QPR last season. Look, we know him well in the Championship, 16-17 in a central midfield with Tom Kearney and Kevin MacDonald. 11 goals, 8 assists for Fulham in the Championship as they went on a Jukanovic late run and lost in the playoffs. The next season, 8 goals, 8 assists as they went on a Jukanovic late run and won in the playoffs. But he has never got a go in the Premier League. I know we were talking about Harry Wilson maybe being a Championship specialist. Johansen, I guess the first season would have been where Jukanovic didn't last long, and then Ranieri and then Parker. And he went on loan to West Brom, where it's that kind of fluffy Darren Moore side where Harvey Barnes went back in January off his loan, and I can't remember who they bought, Jeff Montero and Murphy and Johansen all at once. It felt like throwing a lot of you-know-what at the wall and hoping some of it stuck, and it didn't. In deference to Darren Moore and West Brom, that season was a nightmare to get up because you had Farke's Norwich, Wilder's Sheffield United, Bielsa's Leeds, and Villa with Grealish and Abraham and Mings as well. So, look, wrong place, wrong time. Fulham come back down, didn't score last time around, 4 assists, and let's be quite frank about it, Parker didn't really fancy him, and by the end of the season he was kind of coming on as a sub. Back up to the Premier League, and then he comes back on loan and has that influence at QPR sitting in that central midfield. And I think QPR fans, it's gone down as undisclosed, but we think it's about £500,000 they've paid. The QPR fans are starting to get quite excited now because they've had this slow build so far under Mark Warburton, and he had Wells and Hugill and Eze and Samuel, and they've all kind of come and gone. But it felt like in the second half of last season that there was a team being built there at QPR that was going to be a viable non-parachute challenger. And we all know that those boys with the big payments tend to be able to dominate and build the best squads at the top. And if they're competently run, they're quite hard to get by. Everyone else is in the slugfest, and QPR seem to be positioning themselves quite well now. So Field and Austin and Johansen, De Vries, who they'd all borrowed, have all been done as permanents now. So in theory, they're going to be as good as they were last season. And then Dazelle has been added. McCallum at left wing back, that's interesting. Dunn, extra centre back. So it looks like they're going to go with the 3 at the back. And now Johansen in there. So it looks like a no-brainer. And if you do the fairly straightforward maths, which says if you take the second half of last season, yes, I understand there are now 6 different teams in the Championship than there were. But my point stands that if you take the second half of last season and run it into this season, QPR would be looking at the second quartile of the table, which we all know means you're only ever, 4 wins, a draw and a defeat from 6 games away from a quick burst up towards the playoffs, aren't you? So it's a no-brainer signing. I'm sure the QPR fans are all going to be very happy about this one. And it should be a successful one. And Steph Johansen knows the Championship and has been promoted out of it the last 2 times, like a lot of Fulham players have. He's been here as well. Full-time, I guess. We can't count the West Brom one, but you take my point, don't you? Let me know your thoughts on Johansen into QPR. And we're going off up north now to Borough. And there's good old Neil Warnock, who's been in fine form with his bum bag and pre-signed autograph cards. Well, Warnock and signings, they've not been only coming out of his bum bag, but they've been going into his club, because in comes Matt Crooks. And can I not leave my bias at the door here for 5 seconds? And you can see the Ipswich scarf up there. Long links with Crooks possibly coming to Ipswich, and I would very much have liked him to come to Ipswich. But A, you don't blame Matt Crooks for wanting to play at the highest level possible. And B, you don't blame Paul Warne of Rotherham for not selling Matt Crooks to what he presumes, and I hope, would be a League One promotion rival. But my club are in the market for a big strapping number 10 who can get on the end of stuff and score goals. And that is Matt Crooks described. Came in 2019, halfway through the season. So he's done a relegation from the Championship, a promotion from League One, and then another relegation from the Championship. If you're talking about Fulham, same sort of thing at Rotherham, but just a a division lower. Got 3 goals in that back end of 18-19 in the Championship as Rotherham went down. 9 goals, 2 assists in the Championship. And remember, of course, 1920, that was a shortened season as well in League One. So I can't remember at what point we cut things off. 11 from the end or something like that. I don't entirely remember, and went straight into the playoffs on points per game. Not if you're Rotherham, though. They were in the right place where the music stopped and went back up. Last season, 6 goals, 3 assists. And there's a bit of a sense with Crooks that there's a good player in there. And there were a couple of, I'd say, periods last season where he looked like he had put it together at Championship level. And in that number 10 position for Rotherham, was getting in and scoring goals and finishing things off, either arriving on stuff or running onto stuff. And for a big guy, it's not just, make the late run, get on the end of the cross. Decent with his feet and decent going through and finishing. So the question with Crooks was, in a different circumstance, and no disrespect to Rotherham, playing for a team who's not going to be ultimately relegated, can he do a job at Championship level? And here you go. Neil Warnock, Middlesbrough, they will get the ball in there, won't they? He will be able to arrive on stuff, and big Ikpezu's been brought up top. Amiobi, Warnock. He likes players that can do the final bit. He's happy to set up the majority of his team to defend, and they will create chances, sometimes in a quite rudimentary way. But this could be a good link up for Crooks. Can he get more towards that 9 goals, 2 assists, which if we can add on 1 or 2 other goal contributions, probably, given he was at the top of League One and things got cancelled there, he would have made. So you're looking for that type of output at Borough. If Borough can be in the top half, which you'd imagine Warnock will expect as a minimum with his standards, this could be a good one. But this is now, frankly, it's up to the player, isn't it? Can he make the step up? Do you know, I think he probably can. And I think his output, if Borough can outperform Rotherham, which, let's be honest, we all think they will, in terms of basically not being relegated, I think Crook's output will increase, and I think Warnock's a good matchup. Let's be fair. Paul Warne and Rotherham were nice and direct, and but they didn't have a lot of the ball, did they? In terms of possession numbers, when they have been in the Championship. So I think this could be a good one for Crooks. And let's not talk specific numbers, but you'd think the goal contributions could be quite good, and that's what he will have been brought there for. Let me know what you think about that one. Interesting one. Matt Crooks into Middlesbrough. And off we go back to Birmingham, where we've been a fair amount, haven't we, in these transfer update videos. And it is Dion Sanderson, whatever. Was there not an American sportsman called Dion Sanderson? I can't remember. Anyway, it's not this one, because he's playing for Birmingham and he's not American. And this was probably 20 years ago. In-demand defender joins on loan from Wolves. We've had plenty go in at Blues, haven't we? Here comes Sanderson. And I tweeted out this one. What do you think? We got some good comments back from... where's he been? Cardiff, Sunderland as well. Where was he before that? Probably says it on the article there. No, was it just... No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just Cardiff and Sunderland. I think he got an injury, did he, at Cardiff? Anyway, was at Sunderland last season, so top 6 League One. Ultimately, they lost in the playoffs. And it looks like either a right back, but I did think he tucked in at right centre back as well at times for Sunderland. Not sure what Lee Bowyer's going to do. I do think of Lee Bowyer often as a back 4 guy, although I know Charlton in League One would go to a back three, wouldn't they? So we did see Charlton in the Championship do that. Max Collin played an absolute ton of games for Birmingham at right back. So I don't know whether they're just going to work it between those two in terms of, and let's be fair, 3 different positions here. Right centre back in a back 4, right back in a back 4, and right wing back when you play a 3. Those 2 players you would think can fill most of all of those 3 positions between the 2 of them. So I'm not entirely sure whether it will be one system and one player has the shirt. So I think Sanderson's going to get a fair amount of football at Birmingham, whether it be tucked inside in, as a third centre back or even in a back 4, which I think he did do for Sunderland as well. Look, young player, but he's been in the Championship before. He's played plenty of big boy football, hasn't he, now with Cardiff and Sunderland. So good luck to him. And with loans, the tide rises all ships, doesn't it? If he does well, his value goes up. Birmingham's points total goes up effectively. That's good for Wolves, that's good for Birmingham, and that's good for the player. And that's the optimum you think on a loan. Let me know how you think Dion Sanderson will go at Birmingham. And we are going to break the habit of a lifetime and do some outs now, because there's a few interesting ones here. The first being Asmir Begovic, who was in my team of the season. The Bournemouth goalkeeper last season. We knew he was going to leave and he's gone off to Everton. I did wonder for a while, would he take a first team Championship gig? You would think, being Everton have the England goalkeeper Pickford there, that he's going to make the challenge but ultimately be on the bench up at Everton with Rafa Benitez. But good goalkeeper, and well, you know how I do my teams of the season. You can't have more than 2 players from any one team. So Begovic managed to get the shirt, and be interesting to see what the plan is at Bournemouth in terms of replacing him. Good goalkeeper who did well last season. Out goes Begovic up to the Premier League. And how's your Turkish? Mine's not good. But what we do see is Famara Jeju at a lovely orange and green table in Turkey at Alanya Spor. Jeju came in, I think, for the thick end of about £6 million, didn't he, to Bristol City, and that contract was allowed to run down, much to the irritation of the Bristol City fans. And the story has now ended with, like many white elephant type expensive players in the Championship, the line is often to Turkey, isn't it? If they're not quite good enough for the Premier League, but they expect a certain amount of wage, which means they don't re-sign in the Championship, Turkey seems to be a good place to go and play your football and go and make your living. So off goes Jeju, who looked like he had potential, but never quite got there, did he? Never quite got there with Bristol City. And finally, the heartbreaking sight, I'm sure, for Swans fans. We knew he was gone, but Andre Ayew, if you thought he was rich on that Premier League contract, he's gone off to the Qatar League to play for Al Sadd Sporting Club, who have also signed a familiar name. I think it's Santi Cazorla, who played in England for the longest time. Got the league table up there. Look, 22 games, no defeats. So I'd imagine he's going to have a lovely old time off in Qatar, Andre Ayew. And he's probably going to make a lot of money. But good luck to him, because he's been fantastic the last 2 seasons in the Championship. And with my Swans perspective, from the playoff final, that's the manager, Cooper, not there. Gay, really good centre-back, not there. Hurahan, good midfielder on loan, Championship go-to guy, not there. And Ayew, not there as well. So all change at Swansea, and possibly reasonable to argue that less quality there now than there has been previously. So there you go. That is our transfer update. Get your views in. Wilson, Gazzaniga to Fulham. Johansen from Fulham to QPR. Crooks to Borough. Sanderson to Birmingham. And if you want to talk about those 3 outgoing players, Begovic, Ayew, who's the middle one? Jeju. Let me know what you think on all of them. That is our latest transfer update. I've had my say. Now you have yours. As the season comes closer and closer, Sunday the 25th, we are just a couple of weeks away. There'll still be plenty more transfer update videos, I'm sure, going all the way through to the start of September. Get your thoughts in the comments. As ever, social media can be an absolute cesspit. So let's be very frank about this. If you're a jerk in the comments, I will just delete your comments off YouTube if I spot them. Let's try and make it a really good place to interact and discuss these players coming into the Championship. Awesome. I'll get off my high horse now. I hope you've enjoyed the video and I'll see you very soon. Over and out. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.